This is Valley of Tears from MMP Games. It's part of the Battalion Combat Series. We're looking at the situation at the end of day 14. This is the last turn before potential ceasefires can come into effect. There can be up to 2 ceasefires. You roll a dice starting, well, 2 dice. You make your roll, and if it gets 11 on this next turn, that means a ceasefire comes into effect. Now the chance of a ceasefire increases each turn, so the number you have to roll or get higher than increases as time goes on. Now you can violate the first ceasefire, either side can do it, but on the second one, that's it, it's the end of the game. Okay, so we go over to the Golan front. You're looking at the number of points. It's Syria have got 9 points and Israel have got 8, so it's very, very close. Things that have happened: the entire southern front of the Syrian army is collapsed. This particular division here, the 210th, managed to get a double activation. It's captured another victory point, Hex, but that was cancelled by the fact that we lost an aircraft unit over the Golan, so they got 1 point victory point back for that, putting them from 8 to 9. So that's why we're still not winning here. But looking at the front, there's lots of victory points very, very close to the front line now, and all Israel has to do is capture a couple more and it's game over. The problems that the Syrian army have had are the same as they've been suffering for the last week or so. The fact that there's a -2 snafu roll going on because of the Air Force, Israeli Air Force is making activity on the Golan and into Syria now an absolute nightmare. We've also had the fact that a lot of HQs have been jumped and several divisions are basically, they've either collapsed or they're very close to collapsing. The 9th Infantry is a wreck, 5th Infantry is a wreck, 1st Tank Division's a wreck, the 7th Infantry's gone, destroyed, the Commando Brigade's destroyed. Other divisions, the only one that's really holding strong is the Iraqi 3rd Armour, but the Iraqi 6th Armour has arrived, only bits of it. The Syrian Reserve are trying to form some sort of front line in the north. They've got a Jordanian division there that can help them. It's not particularly strong. There's a small Saudi force down here trying to hold on. The only thing that's really saving the sort of Syrians and their allies at the moment is the fact that the Israeli army is highly fatigued. It's, you know, there's only 4 units here, and there's 3 3s and a 4. So one of them, the main division in the north, didn't actually get to activate, which was a big problem. Otherwise, things could have got really bad for the Arabs on this front. We go over. One thing that's worth mentioning, that Syria haven't got any more reserves. They've used them all now. Also, their air force is practically destroyed. Now there's very little left to fight off the Israelis, and the Israelis are near some of these SAM sites as well. If they can capture these SAM sites, it totally disrupts the SAM missile umbrella for what little good it's doing them anymore. So we go on to the Sinai front. The current victory points, Egypt are at 9 and Israel are at 2. The main thing that's happened in terms of victory points is one of the Egyptian infantry divisions, its HQ's been driven across the canal. So that's lost them a victory point. In fact, that happened to 2 divisions, but they managed to capture a point. No, it only happened to 1 division. They captured a victory point hex here, which got them 1 back, but they also sacrificed a victory point to bring on the first part of their off-board strategic reserves. In terms of the fighting, there's been a breakthrough here by the Point Side Command. The Israeli forces in this area, which were doing all the attacking, have had to go back onto the defensive. The penetration to the canal in this area is totally cut off and finished. The main attacks happened around Chinese Farm. The Israelis managed to break through to the canal twice. The first breakthrough was wiped out by an Egyptian counterattack. The second one has been largely nullified by an Egyptian counterattack. Over here, the Israeli offensive went off and penetrated to the canal again. This time there was very little to stop them, but some of the strategic reserve has arrived. The 3rd Mechanized has arrived. They've also did have a little bit of reserve. The 2nd Tank Brigade there has moved into the area, so the breach is stopped. The Israelis haven't got a bridgehead and they haven't got sufficient force to actually break much further. They should be able to hold that penetration and push elements of the 7th Infantry aside, but I don't think they're going to be able to cross the canal. The attempt from the Egyptians to capture this victory point has failed, and the situation is not looking brilliant for the Israelis. They've attacked and put a massive amount of attack in, but they've taken some awful casualties. Admittedly, they've inflicted as good as they've got, but the Israeli army isn't as strong, nowhere near as strong as the Egyptian army here. Even the Egyptian army is lesser quality, but if it's got its saggers in place and stuff like that, it's a very difficult army to manhandle, unlike the Syrian army, which just went to pieces. So that's it. End of this turn, and it's still, I think Israel are pretty much certain to take the Golan. If they don't start winning on the Golan front next turn, it'll be the turn after they'll be in a winning position, I would imagine. Because, as I say, there's no more Syrian reserves. There are some other units coming on to help the Syrians, but they're not particularly good. They're not going to arrive at the positions where they can do most good, i.e. in the north. Situation in the south, Israel is going to get some decent reinforcements coming into the Sinai, but I don't think they've got the strength to push through and actually overcome this deficit of 8. They need 8 more victory points to actually turn this situation around. Admittedly, if they can take some of these victory point hexes off the Egyptians, it'll rebalance it. It's difficult to say, but I'm not that confident that Israel has the strength to win this on the Sinai.